Rich Adeyemi. I'm an urban farmer. I also do consulting for organizations in the area of school, farm to school, in the area of women empowerment in agriculture and all of that. I have been practicing urban farming for the past 6 years, and I have done some certifications also from Wageningen University in the Netherlands. I've done from Johns Hopkins in the US, and I've been working with other organizations all around Nigeria to ensure that food security is assured for all of us. And over time, I have tried to get people involved with this thing by actually probably giving them seeds, talking to people one-on-one. But I found out something that a lot of people are not responding to. Not that they are not responding, they are not forthcoming, as it were. They will do it for a while and leave it. And I discovered that the issue probably is because they don't understand the challenge that we are facing today as a people. And that's why I decided that I should take this thing forward by actually educating people. So this is just the beginning. This is the beginning of what I'm going to be doing in terms of urban agriculture education, in terms of advocacy for quality whole foods, in terms of intervention and empowerment for farmers, for households that are interested in actually using their spaces to start something around them or to actually help people. I welcome you once again. And right now I'm going to begin with, I have some slides prepared, and I'm going to share my screen with you so that you can follow me on the slides. Yeah. So today we are looking at from urban space to edible garden. Before the end of this class, I hope to be able to share a video of mine to show you how I started this journey, how I took my home space and transformed into an urban garden. And if I'm not able to do that, I'm going to actually share that in subsequent classes or class. So today we're looking at from urban space to edible garden. I believe for those of us who have joined, we're interested because of reasons that has to do with the challenges of the chemicals that we get in our food, the challenges of how do I convert my urban space. I have a friend who is actually lamenting that if he had known what, if he had met me or known me a few years, or seen what I'm doing a few years back, he wouldn't have built his house the way he built it. But I said, it's never too late. There is always a way to, turn things around. And whatever way your space is right now, we can turn it around, we can transform it to, providing at least some level of food for you and your family. So from urban space to edible garden. I'd like to start with this quote I saw somewhere, which I found very, very challenging and at the same time interesting. It says, if you require outside sources for your basic needs, you are not free, you are a slave. Our basic physiological needs are food, shelter, clothing. And if you look at those as a people, most of the time we require outside sources for most of these things. We don't grow enough of our food. We don't, produce our own clothes. Even our homes, a lot of people can, a lot of people don't have comfortable shelter to live in. So I see us mostly as slaves because we have to depend on others. We import virtually all the foods that we consume, and this is not supposed to be. So let's move on. Tonight we're looking at something, and I believe that at the end of this seminar, if you're able to understand urban agriculture and the role it plays in food security, as much as I'm not going to make this formal in the sense that I don't want to look like a classroom setting. It's going to be very interactive. Then understanding the key drivers of urban agriculture. Why are people going into urban agriculture? Why is it becoming more and more relevant today? Then at the end of the day, you should be able to begin to think about how urban agriculture can be applicable to you in your space, in your community. These are the things we are looking at today. So understanding urban agriculture. I'm not going to give you a definition. Like I said, I don't want this to be formal, at all. Urban agriculture. I'm going to ask you a question. Whenever you think about farming, what comes to your mind? You know, when we were in secondary school, we were taken to farms, and sometimes in schools, most students are not interested in agriculture because it is a tool. They see it as a tool for punishment. When they, they misbehave, they send them to the school farm to go and clear, to go and do one or two things. So agriculture is not interesting to most schools, or most students rather, even most people. So today, when you think of farming, what comes to your mind? Think of a large expanse of land, you think of tractor, you think of poor people with hoe and cutlass. You know, that is what comes to a lot of people's mind. Well, it doesn't have to be, because things have changed, really. Things have changed. Large expanse of land, tractors, poor people, all of these are still involved in agriculture today, but things have changed. And we've talked about, if we're looking at urban farming, of course, you can't be thinking of tractors, you can't be thinking of, large expanse of land. So a lot of things have changed. So where you are right now, if you shift your mind back to where you live, where you work, your school or your children's school, can you see a farm in that place, in that environment? Can you picture a farm there? Or can you picture a garden? I go around to the secretariat here, the federal secretariat in Akure, the state secretariat also in Akure, and the one in Lagos. I've been there, and I see food. But a lot of people can't see these things because that is not where they are. They assume that farming has to be, something that is big. That has to do with this thing. So why are we thinking about urban agriculture at this point in time? By 2050, 69% of the world population will be living in urban areas. 86% in the developed world. This is true. I'm going to be giving us a lot of statistics tonight to be able to prepare us for what is ahead. Because, like I said earlier, many people have tried to, move into this idea of converting their spaces to growing food for themselves, are not actually taking advantage because they don't understand. They don't know the challenge we are facing. And I feel that if people can see some of these statistics, it will help them to actually be able to take advantage of what is on ground. So by 2050, we're looking at about 20 or 29 years from now, 69% of the population will be living in urban areas. What are the implications of this, if there are any? Of course, there are. What are the implications? There will be pressure, and pressure on our land. I remember a few years back, my sister started a farm at home. Not a farm, just, a poultry in her house rather. And before you knew it, she could not occupy that place. She went to a very far remote village in Warri, outside an outskirts of Warri. Today, as I speak to you, that was about, talking about 10, 12 years ago. As I speak to you now, all around that farm, there are residential houses. So the pressure on that land, on that farm is so high today. I can tell you that she was the first one to get to that environment. She has over 100 acres in that environment. So you can imagine what she has bought. But as I speak to you now, all around that place, there are residential houses. And you can imagine the pressure on her to move that farm away from there. So there will be pressure on our land. That is why urban agriculture is very important. In rural areas where we thought are rural 5, 10, 15 years ago, they have become, residential environments. There will be pressure on energy. Of course, the more people get into urban areas, the more energy they consume. Then also pressure on water, because the issue is this: most of our underground water have been polluted. In most environments, we don't have access to clean water. We don't have access to any source of water. Most people in urban areas have to go to far away places to get water. So there'll be pressure on water and there'll be pressure on food, because those places we used to think as referred to as farms are now becoming residential environments. So what happens? Food are not going to be coming from those places anymore. My friend used to tell me that there are no lands in Lagos. For instance, all of those agricultural settlements are becoming residential settlements. They are changing the CFO to residential settlements. So there'll be pressure on food because those environments we think or we thought are farms are now becoming residential environments. So there won't be more, there'll be so much pressure. So what are the key drivers of urban agri? What is driving people into urban agri? Number one is growing population combined with mass migration to cities. I will explain this. Then growing concern on food security and environmental sustainability at the policy level. I will explain some of this, all of this. Then growing consumer demands on freshness, on nutrition, on variety, on transparency, and environmental sustainability. Then lastly, accessible innovations in agricultural production and technology. These are the things driving people into urban agri, and these are the things I want to begin to push people to see. And that's why I'm mentioning them. If you can understand these things, it will help you in starting something around your space. Let me begin with the first stuff there, growing population combined with mass migration to cities. I'm going to show you some statistics. Let's look at this table. This world population table. This source, I got this from United Nations website. Who is going up and who is going down? As far back as 2010, the world population was about 6.9 billion. By 2030, it will be 8.2 billion. By 2050, it will be 9 billion. Look at Africa. In 2010, Africa's population was 1 billion. Today is April 8, 2020. Our population is about 1.2 billion as a people. By 2030, it will be 1.5, 2050 will be 2.1. Asia, Europe, Latin America, and the Caribbean, North America, the Oceania. If you look at this table, you see that the population of the world is growing, but there are some places that are growing faster or more than others. So population increase is going to affect food production. Now I'm going to explain this. In 30 years from now, the population of Africa will almost double. Let me go back to that table. As of today, 2020, we're about 1.2 billion. By 2050, we'll be about 2 billion. So the population will have doubled. My focus tonight will be on Africa because that's where most of us are. Some of us, I know some people are in Europe, but if you can look at Europe, it's relatively not, it's stable, more like not growing. Those in America, North America is not so much growing. But Africa is our main concern tonight. So if you're in Europe or in America, please pardon me. By 2030, by 2050, that's been next 30 years or thereabout, population of Africa will have doubled. To meet population growth, Africa will need to double food production. To be able to feed its citizens, Africa will need to double the output of food that we produce right now. Now, as of 2020, the number of people living in cities, in urban areas, have exceeded those living in rural areas. And by 2050, it is expected that 70% of the population of the world will live in urban areas. By 2050, that's about 30 years from now. 70% of people will live in urban areas. Now, the implication of this is this. If you look at this table again, by 2030, more than 10 cities will have a population of between 20 and 40 million people. To my extreme left here, you will find that Tokyo, Delhi, Shanghai, New York, Beijing, and all that. You look at the population right now, as of today, as of 2014 rather. By 2030, there are new entrants here, or there's a new entrant here. We look at Karachi, and we look at Lagos. Karachi is in India, and Lagos is in Nigeria. Lagos will be around 24.2 million people by 2030. That's about 9 years from now. I can tell you, as Lagos is growing, other places are growing. The challenges would be is this. There will be a very terrible challenge. The estimates may vary, but you see, all of these cities that have this large population, they produce less than 1% of their food. Less than 1% of their food is grown within the city. So it means that they have to source food from outside the city. And this is very, very unsustainable. They cannot feed themselves. Let's even take Lagos aside. If you look at Abuja, look at Port Harcourt, look at Warri, even Akure, where I live. There's a particular location in Akure. It's called Imafo. Imafo is an amazing place to me. The reason is because I have a friend, I consult for an organization there called Springboard. 8 years ago, when my friend bought his land, they were more or less begging him to buy that land because he felt, what am I going to do here? I don't need this land. But talking about 8 years ago. But today, a plot of land is sold for about 800K in that same environment. It's very close to Alagbaka, but it's already becoming a city. All of those environment, or all of that environment was used to grow food 8 years ago. As I speak to you now, it's becoming residential. So there will be challenges, or there will be challenges rather, on the food, that comes from our city. Now, all of this city will rely on a river of trucks coming every night and day to restock supermarkets and shops. That's what happened in Lagos. That's what happened in Akure. That's what happened in Port Harcourt. That's what happened in Abuja. They rely on trucks from the north, from the south, from the southeast, bringing all kinds of commodities to restock the market because they are not growing food. The challenge is this: any break in the flow, for instance, if there's a fuel crisis, they are speculating that pump price is going to increase. Perhaps it will, perhaps not. Well, let's assume there's fuel increase. There's fuel crisis, whereby there's shortage of fuel distribution. You can imagine what will happen. Those trucks will not come. Let's assume there's war, God forbid. Those trucks of food commodities will not come. They won't go to those places. The farmer hydra crisis we have in Nigeria, you know what it has cost us. About a month ago, I heard that in Jeba, they stopped tomato from going to Lagos and most part of southwest Nigeria, even the southern part of Nigeria. It was hell for a lot of people. Within a week, the price of tomato has skyrocketed. So this reliance on food trucks from a location that is outside of where you live is tantamount to food security. And this break in this flow will leave these cities to starvation. Will lead a lot of people into starvation. So we need to do something about that. What's the solution? The truth is that cities need to grow more of their own food locally. We need to look at innovative ways of growing food, locally. The second driver is growing concern on food security and food sustainability at the policy level. This is very important. I'm looking at two keywords here: food security and food sustainability. Let's begin with food security. The quick question this afternoon is, with the way food is currently being produced, can we secure food for everyone? The answer is no. The way food is produced around the world today, it can lead to food security. Now, how is food currently being produced? It is through conventional farming or industrial agriculture. Industrial farming doesn't grow food for the world. It grows food as commodities. And these are some of the things I can't explain, now. But with time, I'm going to explain some of these concepts so that we can understand what is going on. Industrial farming doesn't help the environment. What is wrong with industrial farming? There are a lot. Number one, monopoly of seeds. I don't know how many of us are familiar with hybrid seeds, GMO seeds, and even seeds generally. There are seeds I will mention now. Some of us you can't find them anywhere. Some years back, some people came up and said, our tomato, the usual tomato we have in the Southwest is watery. It tastes bitter, or it tastes, sour after a few days and all that. All of those concepts or stuffs are lies. Some people were peddling those ideas then for them to be able to monopolize seed. Today, our seed is being patented. And most of the seeds that we grow today are imported. I can tell you this, are imported. Most of the tomatoes we consume are gotten from seeds that are imported. The pepper from seed, okra, I'm telling you, from seeds that are imported. Lettuce, cabbage, most of these seeds are imported. So the issue about industrial farming is that they monopolize seed production. And I had this saying some years back. Those who whoever controls seed controls food production, and whoever controls food production determines the future of the people. If you cannot have access to seeds, then there's a problem. You cannot regenerate, you cannot reproduce. So there's a monopoly of seed. That's the thing about industrial farming. That's the goal. They want to monopolize seed production. And it's happening today. Secondly, soil depletion. The herbicides, the pesticides, the growth hormones that people put into growing food today depletes the soil. Most of these are salt-based. NPK fertilizer that we get, most of them are salt-based. They destroy the soil over time. The herbicides, they destroy the organic matter in the soil. The pesticides drives away those beneficial organisms that helps in fertilization, that helps in pollination and all of those. When I was young, whenever rainfall, we used to pick this small snail. We call it ikpere in our local dialect. I don't know how many of you know about it. We go immediately after rainfall, we go into the bushes around us and we pick a lot because they will just crawl out. Today, you hardly find them. If you are not aware, the issue is because of the herbicide use is driving these stuffs away, killing a lot of the butterflies. The bees are being driven off. So pollination is reducing. Food production is going to be reduced because there are no agents of pollination anymore. So the soil is going to be depleted over time. Greenhouse gas emission. If you are moving food from Sokoto to Lagos, imagine the carbon footprint. Imagine the amount of CO2 that will be released into the environment. You are moving food from say Ireland to, or say from India to Nigeria, from China to Nigeria. Imagine the amount of green gas emission. So all of these things are associated with industrial farming, and they go a long way to affect, food production. The ecosystem destruction. Industrial farming doesn't help the ecosystem. What you find in industrial farming is monocropping, whereby you see large hectareage, maybe 100 hectares or 5,000 hectares of cocoa or corn or millet or tomatoes. This does not exist in nature. You can't find anything like that in nature. In nature, we have what is called diversity. You have tomato, you have pepper, you have onion, you have all kinds. That is how nature is designed by God to function. So when you have monocropping, what you are doing is destroying the ecosystem. Because when you have a monocrop on a particular land, for instance, maize or tomato, if there's pest infestation, imagine what will happen. The whole of that farm can be wiped out. To prevent that attack, they will need pesticides. And that is why pesticides is being introduced to agriculture gradually. Don't forget, the people behind manufacture of pesticide has their own goal. They are not after food security. They are after profit. So by and large, our ecosystem gets destroyed. Some years back, I studied the Green Revolution that took place in Asia, most part of Southeast Asia, Mongolia, some parts of India, Cambodia, and places like that. Today, that environment can't even grow a lot of their food. Thailand, part of Thailand also, because by virtue of the pesticide and all the chemicals they have used, the soil has been depleted, the organic matter has been destroyed. When rain falls, all they have is flooding. So they can't even grow food. So industrial farming is about destroying the ecosystem. If anybody tells you, come and go into agriculture, you can grow cocoa, you can grow this thing, 1,000 hectares, all of those, they don't know what they are talking about. Their goal is their pocket. It is not about preserving the ecosystem. God designed nature in such a way that we all need one another. everything. The butterfly needs the bee needs the ant, the termite, and all of these things. They need us. We need them. This is how the ecosystem is designed. But the way we are growing food today, friends, industrial farming is not going to help us to achieve food security. So that is the concern on food security. So all of this above, all of the above, factors I've mentioned mitigate against food security and food sustainability. Now, the World Resource Institute, postulated that we need to close a 70% food gap between now and 2050. What the World Resource Institute does is that every year they come up with what they call Global Food Security Index. And that is actually a dynamic quantitative and qualitative benchmark mode used from about 59 sectors to measure the drivers of food security across both developing and developed worlds. Now, there are many indicators in all of this. I just want to show us a table to look at where we are as a country on the Global Food Security Index. Now, if you look at this table, this is for this Global Food Security Index for Sub-Saharan Africa, and this is 2018. Nigeria is 14th on that table. Now, if you look at number 7, there is Senegal. Now, these are the indicators. Some of the indicators used here: affordability, availability, quality, and safety. There are 59 of those indicators put together to get the overall score. So, but availability, affordability, quality, and safety are prominent, very, very prominent. If your people don't have access to food, that is availability. If food is not available, then there's a problem. If the food is available but it's not affordable, that's also a problem. If the food is not accessible at all, it's also a problem. If it is affordable and available, but the quality is poor, that's also a problem. So they use 59 indicators and they come up with this table. Nigeria is 14th on this table. So if you look at Nigeria there, in terms of affordability, Nigeria rank higher than Senegal, which is number 7. But in terms of availability, Senegal rank higher than Nigeria. And that's why Nigeria is below Senegal on that table. If you look at Togo, the quality and safety of their food is lower than ours. But in terms of availability, the people have access to food than Nigerians. So we don't have access to food. Food is not available for us as a people, and we can't even afford food. In terms of affordability, Nigeria is very poor, very low. We can't afford food. Food prices are going up day by day. Now look at the other table here. This is the Global Food Security Index for the world for 2018. Nigeria is number 90 here. If you look at that arrow there, 90. So it means that we are far behind in terms of food security. We are not producing enough to secure food for all. I'd like you to look at this comparison. Nigeria's uncultivated agricultural land compared to this other country. I'm not talking about Nigerian landmass now. I'm talking about Nigeria's uncultivated agricultural land is 38 million hectares. This uncultivated land is as big as the entire landmass of Zimbabwe. Our uncultivated land is larger than Japan. Our uncultivated agricultural land is larger than the entire landmass of Germany and Malaysia. It's 3 times larger than the Republic of Benin. The question is, why are we not food secure? This comes to the issue of policy. We will not be able to address this, but my concern is for you to be able to see this picture so that you know that if the government is not doing anything about you or for you and I, then we should begin to look inwards. Why can't we produce food for ourselves? If you look at this table, nations like Germany is on number 6 here. Malaysia is on 35. Yet, our uncultivated land cannot even afford, it's bigger than the entire landmass of these countries, and we can't even feed ourselves. Now I go to food sustainability. The key question here is, are our current global and local food distribution systems sustainable? The way food is distributed locally and globally, is it sustainable? The answer is no. Now, the reason is because our food miles are unbelievably too high. Food miles is the distance food travels before being converted into the final product or before they get to your plate. In other words, from farm to table, what is the distance that your food has traveled? The distance your food travels from farm to table. What is the distance? Can you measure it? Do you know it? Do you have an idea what it is? The tomato that you consume, what is the food mile of that tomato? The pepper you consume, what is the food mile of that pepper? The rice that you consume, what is the food mile of that rice? The meat that you consume, the fish, what's the food mile of the fish that you consume? High food miles affect the nutritional and edible value of food. The truth is that the further our food travels, the less nutritious and delicious it is, and the more pollution they release into the environment. So if you are getting rice from Thailand or Malaysia, imagine the journey, over 5,000 kilometers. Getting a tomato from Katsina or Zungeru or Sokoto to Lagos or Akure or Abuja, calculate the distance. That's quite a lot. By the time this food gets from the farm to even the market where they're going to sell, either in Lagos or Port Harcourt, it will have lost about 40 to 45% of nutritional value. And not to talk of the carbon footprint, because the energy, the CO2 that has been released from these trucks that carry this food from Sokoto to Lagos is amazing. So it is not sustainable. We can't continue like this. Now, if you look at the food miles for this is a picture of a particular place in the US. My concern is that fresh produce loses 45% of its nutritional value before they get to the shelf. 45%, that is a lot. You can see that tomato is ripe, is red, and all that. What is the nutritional value of that tomato that you consume? The pepper, the yam, the rice, not to talk of even beans and all of that. So the food miles, the further our food travels, the less nutritional value, the less the nutrition it provides for us, and the less healthy. So from the foregoing, it is clear that cities or urban towns with increasing population number and high urban migration will have difficulty with resources needed to secure food for everyone. The land, the human resources, the water will become more constrained. Accessibility will become more difficult to grow food for everyone. As the population of the urban areas increases, friends, there will be less and less access to food. There will be less and less access to quality and clean water. There will be less and less access to even human resources. Yesterday, a friend was chatting with me. He said he had paid 127,000 naira between January and now and yesterday to secure, farm hands from some parts of Nigeria. They will come to the farm. He said he had lost about 37 of them. They will come to the farm. They will just work a day or two and they will elope. It's because people want to go into urban cities for opportunities. They don't want to go to farm. They don't want to go and work on a farm. So it is clear to us that the way our food is being produced right now is not sustainable. We need to think of other ways. Now, the third driver is growing consumer demands on freshness, nutrition, variety, transparency, safety, and environmental sustainability. Today, many consumers are better informed. I'm sure the reason why you joined this meeting is because you have some access to some information, or because you are just interested in growing or knowing what it takes to grow your own food. You are tired of, you'll be hearing, about the fact that most of the food that we consume are laden with chemicals. It is true. I'm on the field, so I see what people do. It's, friends, coupled with the fact that most of our farmers are illiterate or ignorant, they do all kinds of terrible things. I'm telling you. I've seen places whereby someone who plans to go to the market with vegetables tomorrow gets to the farm today and discovered that the vegetable is, kind of yellowish in color. What did she do? She bought urea, dissolved it in water, and sprinkled on the vegetable. You know what urea would do? Urea, contains a high level of ammonia. It changes that color. It's nitrogen. And that's one of the major constituents of NPK fertilizer. It changed the color of that vegetable from that yellowish structure to about green in about 2 days. And really, they are supposed to be a withdrawal period of about 14 days or 21 days. She just harvested and took to the farm. Took to the market. This is what people do. So today, many consumers are better informed. They now are aware that, man, the food that they consume are not healthy. They are not safe. So the growing consumer demand is a driver. That's why some of you are here. That's why people want to, go into urban, agriculture. Now, as a result of these consumer demands, food grown with harmful chemicals that are injurious to their health and the environment, they are aware of it. They know that most of the food they eat, people go to the toilet because they have eaten a particular vegetable. People have all kinds of health challenges. 30 years ago, most of the health challenges people are facing today were not there. And this can be traced somehow, partly to the food and the water that we consume. The pollution is, is massive. When people put on their generators at night all around us, the CO2 being released does not disappear into the atmosphere. It doesn't nothing disappears. It goes somewhere and it comes back to us. All of these things leads to the danger that affects our environment. Consumers now want food that are fresh and nutritious. Consumer also wants food labels that are neither misleading nor deceptive. I'm going to do a meeting on food labels because really my goal is to actually educate consumers today about many things that are happening as far as food is concerned. Most of the labels on our food are deceptive and they are misleading. I just pray that someday I'll be able to do, very soon, I'm going to do some, meeting on this to be able to show us how to actually read food labels. When you go to the supermarket, can you read food labels? Do you understand what is on the labels? Do you know what they mean? You know what each of those constituents mean? Do you know what they provide, what they deliver? If they mention something on that, do you know what it is? Do you know where it's gotten from? It's very important. Many consumers are beginning to become aware that, look, many of the food labels are deceptive or misleading. And we live in a country whereby it is not even, it's not mandatory that producers, put all the ingredients that they use, in the production of their food on the label. It's not mandatory in our country. So it's dangerous. So the key question is, do these emerging consumer dynamics align with the way our current food systems are designed? No. No. Our current food systems are not grown without harmful chemicals. Our current food systems are not fresh and nutritious. Our current food system does not provide, accurate information on the labels of our food. They don't. So it is not sustainable. So what do? I'd like you to pick a pen and paper right now. Let's do a quick homework here. The following questionnaire will help you determine whether or what kind of food system you need to adopt going forward. Please, let's get some pen. Let's get a pen and paper and look at something. Let's look at this table. I'd like you to look at these categories. Yeah, okay. I want to be sure we are there. Okay. And let's look at these categories. The cereals that you take, the drinks that you take, the fruits that you consume, your vegetables, your meat and fish, the seasonings and sweeteners that you put in your food. I'd like you to list 5 each of these food items that you consume regularly under each of the categories. For instance, under cereal, what are the 5 food items you consume regularly under cereal? Corn, you eat corn, right? But don't forget, if you take something like golden morn. It's a derivative of corn, right? So you can put that under cereal. Golden morn, cornflakes. You can put that under cereal. If you take pap, you can put that under cereal. Okay? If you take rice, put that under cereal. And what kind of rice do you take? Basmati rice, Igbimo rice, Thailand rice? You know, we need to know. So identify each. Under drinks, what drinks do you take regularly? Water, bottled water, well water, what kind of water? And let me quickly say something about bottled water. Please be mindful of bottled water, sachet water. Be mindful of it, because if you take note, the people who sell this thing do something regularly. Most of them that have shops, they pack these things in and out of their shops day in, day out. A lot of them expose this thing under the sun, direct sunlight. The drinks, the water, bottled water, the sachet water, the bottled drinks, you know, the beverages, the soft drinks that we consume. A lot of them are brought out. Even some of these packaged food drinks, they put them under the sunlight from morning till evening. In the evening, they take it back into the store. It has effect, because the plastic used for bottling these things are not food grade. Someday I'm going to do another meeting on plastic, on food grade plastics. These things have effect. These plastics are all labeled. If you look under, then you see PP, you see HDP, and all of those. If you look under some of these plastic, vegetable oil plastic, can, sachet water, bottled water can, all that, you see these labels are there. Do you know what they are? Do you know what they mean? So the drinks that you take from the can, bottled water, soft drinks, Coca-Cola, beer, palm wine, all of those, mention 5. Then the fruits that you take regularly. A lot of people don't eat fruit, right? A lot of us don't take fruit anyway. But what are the fruits that you take regularly? I'm going to mention something. The vegetables that you take regularly: ugu, shoko, tete, ebolo. Some of us don't even know what that is. Igbagba, that is African eggplant. All of different vegetables. Which of these do you take regularly? Some of us don't even take. I know people who don't take vegetables. They don't like vegetables. They say, I don't eat vegetables. Okra, under vegetable. Then the meat and the fish that you consume. List them: croaker, stockfish, beef, goat meat, pork, what is it called? Scubia, yes, all these iced fish. One is called scubia, one is sabida, Which of them do you consume? Just mention 5. Then the seasoning and sweeteners: sugar, honey, the seasoning, Knorr cube, Maggi cube, or star, or for those who consume, or those who take noodles, the seasoning inside the noodles, MSGs, mention those things that you take. Let me quickly go over that again. Your cereals, identify 5. The drinks, identify 5. Fruits, identify 5. Vegetables, identify 5. Meat and fish, identify 5. Seasoning and sweeteners, identify 5. Now, please, I'd like you to put this table down on a sheet of paper, the way it is here, quickly. If you look under cereal here, there's a space in front of it. That's where you're going to put your remark, or your comment rather. All right? I hope we have done that. So let me try and see if I can unmute everyone and see, so that we get some communication here. So if I'm not unmuted you, please, we have asked Tommy so that you can communicate. You can mute yourself. All right. Great. So let's move on. Yeah, I can hear sound. Now okay. I hope we have listed those food items. Now let's go to the next stuff here. I'm getting some background stuff here. Okay, so let's move on.
Shopper, come.
Oh, I'm getting some distractions here. Maybe I should just mute everyone. Okay.
Go everyone so that you can continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
The practical aspect can come later.
All right. So now let's go to the next stuff here. Now, under those stuffs that you have written, under the food items that you have written, these are the questions I'd like you to answer. And you select yes, uncertain, or no in the column provided in front of each of those food items. If you have, for instance, under Suri, you've itemized pap, you've itemized golden morn or cornflakes. The first question is this. Number one, the products are made or grown by a brand or company or a farmer I trust.
No.
Yes, uncertain,
no,
or no. So just
no,
put it there.
No.
Okay, you don't have to comment, please, because of other people. Just put it there. The products are made, they are grown by a brand, a company, or a farmer you trust.
Number no.
Number two, the product is known for its health benefits. It's known for its health benefits. You should be able to, identify that. Okay. Number three, the product is made from fresh, natural, or organic ingredients. Yes?
Uncertainty.
Uncertain or no?
Uncertain.
Mr. Oladele,
Yes.
you can please mute because I think I'm getting some background noise from you.
No, not at all.
Yeah, thank you.
Any? Yeah.
Okay. If you have a background noise from you, please just mute your stuff. When we get to this, we'll discuss more. Please mute it. Thank you. Number three, I think I've mentioned that the product is made from fresh, natural, or organic ingredients. Is it yes, uncertain, or no?
Uncertain.
You're not dealing with only cereals, dealing with your food and vegetables. I'm sorry, your vegetables, and each and every one of them. If you pick, for instance, apple, do you know who grew the apple? Do you know where it came from? Is it fresh? Is it natural? Is it organic? Then number four, the product contains additives used for longer shelf life. If you have itemized, for instance, cornflakes, of course, that should be a yes. If you have itemized something like apple under fruit, that's yes. If you have itemized something like even iced fish, yes. There's additive added to it for longer shelf life. All right. If you itemize something like sugar, of course, as sweetener. Itemize something like maybe Knorr cube, of course, additives are involved. The number five, the product is from a company or a farmer known for being environmentally friendly?
Igbo.
Yes, uncertain,
Uncertain.
or no? All the food you mentioned cannot be uncertain. All of them cannot be yes. All of them can be no. So just check the food, that you have itemized there. Number 6, the product is from a company or a farmer known for its or his commitment to social values such as fairness, equity, transparency, and integrity. Is it yes, uncertain, or no? Product is from a company or a farmer known for its commitment to social values such as fairness, equity, transparency, and integrity. Are you sure of that? Then lastly, the product is from a company or a farmer known for its or his commitment to human and environmental health. If you put something like no, for instance, is that company known for their commitment or to environmental or human health? If you have put something like noodle, any kind of noodles, is a company known for its commitment to human and environmental health? If you put something like pap, the farmer who made the pap for you or the person who made the pap for you, do you know where he or she gets water from to make the pap? Do you know what kind of maize they buy in the market? So all of these things are very important. I hope we're getting it. So let's itemize those stuff on the table. Go back to the table again. You can see for your meat and fish, for your seasoning and sweeteners, let's put those stuff. So hope we're there. Now let's move on. If you answer uncertain or no in 3 out of the 5 items you have listed, it means that it is high time you consider growing your own food. If you're uncertain, for instance, whether the product is from a farmer that you trust, if you say no for a set, so if out of the 5 items you have, itemized, you got uncertain and no in 3 out of the 5, friends, it is high time you consider growing your own food. And this is very, very important. I'll come to how you can grow your own food, how you can get your own food very shortly. This is very important. So let me move on. The key driver 4, accessible innovations in agriculture production technologies and information technology. I asked the question when I began, or when I started, that when you think of a farm, what comes to your mind? Today, farming has changed. There are so many innovations in agriculture today that are simplified farming, that makes farming very attractive. Very attractive. Farming doesn't have to be punishment. It doesn't have to be people laboring and, year in, year out and getting nothing. Particularly if you are looking at urban farming. Urban farming is, is very, very attractive and interesting today. So let's look at some of this innovation that you can access, or some of these technologies that you can access. Number 1 is soil-based. You can actually do urban farming using soil-based. You can grow on land. If you have the soil, if you have the land in your house or in your urban space, if you have it in your office area, if you have it in your school area, you can actually grow on land if you have the land. Some of us don't have that, what do they call it now? We don't have that opportunity because most of our land have been, the homes have been cemented or either tiled. Some even use asphalt in their compound. That's dangerous. Anyway, asphalt it traps a lot of heat and it's going to release into the atmosphere in the night. It's very dangerous. So for those who don't have soil, there are other ways. You can look at vertical gardening. Those are innovations. You look at 2 ways here. You see this bag garden. This bag, the one I have here, I have 2 of these type of bags. There are two here that you see. One contains 20 seedlings around it. The other one contains 70. I have a bigger one that contains 100. You can grow 100 vegetables around that plant, and it only takes 2 square meter of space. With the, can you see the storage tank there that supplies water? That's about 20-liter tank there that supplies water to that whole system. That is vertical gardening. You can also do the one on the right, you know, where you have this shelf kind of stuff. You make it's a riser. This is an A-type riser. You can grow on both sides of it. You put plastics on it and grow on both sides. If you don't have, you know, the liberty or of space, these are things you can grow. If you look at the one on the left, it's grown on concrete floors. So if you have concrete floors in your house, as a matter of fact, you are good to go today. There are innovations that you can use today to grow, whether no matter what you have on that, you know, you're on the ground, whether it is tiled, whether it is, you know, asphalt or whatever, you can grow there. Even if it is rock, you can grow there. There are things to do today to go there. And let me just say something. If you are even thinking commercial, with this bag, for instance, all you have on it is lettuce. If you have 10 of these bags that can contain, the one that can contain 70 seedlings, and you grow only lettuce, how many will you have? That's 700 stand of lettuce. And the space you are going to use, I can guarantee you, is less than 20 feet. You do them on two sides, less than 20 feet of space, 20 by 20 by 20, or 20 by 20 by 20, or 20 by 10 feet. You can do that. So even commercially, you can actually do that if you want to go commercial. So these are innovations. Then we'll move on to poly greenhouse. There are different types of greenhouses. This is polyethylene. That plastic you are seeing there is not normal plastic. They are UV plastic, UV polyethylene, or polyethylene rather. They trap the rays of the sun and direct it into the house to warm it up. You can actually do aquaponics. Aquaponics is a mixture of, you know, using, you're combining two things, aquatic and hydroponics. Hydroponics is growing without soil. That's what hydroponics is. Hydro is from water. So you're growing without soil. You're growing with water and nutrients. The aqua is, you know, growing, that's the culturing of fish. So you can use the fish water and recycle it to actually grow crop. Yes, it is done. It's not a very difficult, it's not rocket science. These things can be done. You know, the challenge we have here is power. And thank God, you know, there are folks today that deploy solar panels all around. I think Shola is even on, you know, in our meeting. There are solar panel solutions, simple solutions that can actually do this for you at home. You are growing fish on one side, and the wastewater from the fish is not waste. Let me not call it waste now. The nutrient water from the fish goes to actually mineralize your plants, your vegetables. So the vegetable will take what it needs and purify the water and send it back to the fish. It's a recirculatory system. That's what aquaponics is. It's fantastic. If you have 2 or 3 of this in your house, you are good to go. You can grow anything, tomatoes, vegetables, and all, tomatoes, pepper, leafy vegetables, and what have you. Then fish is on the other, on one hand, and you're getting that. Then also hydroponics. Hydroponic systems, you know, there are different types of hydroponic systems. NFT, deep water culture, CRAFT, and all of that. For those who don't have access to power, I would suggest you do CRAFT. I'm not going to talk about that today. Maybe sometime, I'll be doing training consistently on, you know, how if you want to go into hydroponics, I can teach you how to do simple hydroponics, whereby you don't even need power. You don't need power supply. You don't need any of those things. And you'll be doing hydroponics. I do it here without power supply. You don't have to recirculate the water. There's a way you do that. You use CRAFT method. So these are simple methods one can use. Whether your floor is cemented or whether even if it's on a balcony, you can do hydroponics. Like I said earlier, hydroponics is growing without soil. Growing without soil, it's just water and nutrients. And friend, you get results. Then also we have container gardening. I grow in bags. I grow in, recycled tires. I grow in plastic buckets. I grow in different sort of containers. The truth is, what a plant needs is something that can hold nutrients for it, and at the same time, hold it stable. If you can get these two factors together, you are good to go. So you can get something that can hold that plant from falling, that can hold the structure in place, and at the same time provide nutrients to the plant, you are good to go. So container gardening, you can grow on rooftops, you can grow on your fence, you can grow on, on tiled, floors, wherever, with container gardening. If you can, as you can see here, these are tomatoes growing and they are doing well. It's not different from what you have on the ground. Then also we have a screen house. Screen house is actually designed for if you want to keep pests away. There are some pests that destroys. It's different from greenhouse. Greenhouse is not the same as greenhouse. Greenhouse is just there's this UV net that you use to actually cover the whole side of the structure to prevent pests from going in and to keep the environment very cool. I have this also in my house. Most of the things you are seeing here in my house. So these are some innovations that can be used today to grow. And the truth is that you don't need a lot of space for this. Don't remember when I started, people look at farming with the eye of I need a large acreage of land. I need large acreage of land. You don't need that. You don't. With a 12 by 12, you can grow what I call kitchen garden. I will do a training on kitchen garden soon on the WhatsApp group. Kitchen garden is actually designed for the kitchen, from that place to the kitchen, less than a distance of 20 or 30 meters. But kitchen garden is something you can do at home. And I use a space of 12 feet by 12 feet. I will show you all of these things, 12 feet by 12 feet. Kitchen garden, tomatoes, different peppers, vegetables are there in that space of 12 by 12. These things, and it's on a concrete, floor. So it is, all these things are possible. They are accessible innovations that we can use today to actually grow food for ourselves. Now, we may not all be able to grow what we eat. That's the truth. But we all can act towards food security for all. The goal for me is not for you to go grow food. No. The goal for me is to take action. And I'm going to show you where you can take action, where you can come in and take action towards food security for all. Because all of us must have that at the back of our mind. Food security for all. Everybody should be able to go to bed, filled. Everyone. I was listening to a video yesterday from a woman. She's actually an activist fighting against Monsanto. I don't know how many of you know about Monsanto. Monsanto is a company owned by Bill Gates. It has the largest share in Monsanto. Monsanto produce all kinds of, they are the ones behind GMOs. GMOs are dangerous. They are killers. And let me tell you, friends, GMO is in Nigeria big time. GMO, most of the, I'll even mention the name of the organization, Grand Cereals. Grand Cereals that produce Grand Oil. They use GMO soya to produce, their oil. It is, I don't know if it, let me not say it's in the public domain, but I had access to a document that was signed in 2019, yes, February 2019, by the federal government of Nigeria and Grand Cereals. They can import, they were asked to import, they were given license to import GMO food for their production. So most of the Grand Cereal vegetable oil that you get is from GMO soya beans. So we can do something about all of these things. So the woman was talking about the fact that Africa has, has opportunities. We have these resources, but a lot of people go to bed in Africa hungry. Why? It is because of the policy, that is not right in our nation. But if you cannot do anything about the government, stop complaining, then do something for yourself. That's my goal. So all of us can act towards food security for all. You may not be able to grow food. Perhaps you are busy, or perhaps you don't have the space at all. You are living in a rented apartment, or you have a house where the landlord does not allow things like that. It may not be possible for you, but you can do something about it and at the same time get the same result. And I'm going to show you shortly. So where do you come in? How do you take action? How do you take action? Number one is to take responsibility. What I mean by this is this: let's stop complaining. The price of tomato is this now. The price of that is not your, is your business, but at the same time, it's not your business. The complaint won't do anything, it won't change anything. Let's take responsibility. What I mean by that is you must understand the story of your food. Where does your food come from? Every food has a story behind it. every food, and I like you to put that at the back of your mind from today, every food has a story. The moment any food lands on your table when you're about to eat, either at home or at work or in school or wherever, the first question that comes to your mind is this: what is the story behind this food? Where does this food come from? Perhaps, for instance, you want to eat rice or spaghetti and stew and maybe vegetables and meat and dodo and all of that. Where did the spaghetti come from? Where did the vegetable come from? Who grew it? With what did they grow it? Where did the meat come from? Who grew it? And who raised it? Who raised the meat? And with what did they raise the meat? The pepper, the tomatoes. Where did they get all of these things from? There's a story behind it. So you have to take responsibility to find out. And that has to do with education. Educating yourself about food is very, very important. Friends, in 1969 or thereabout, 1967, 68, when there was this Vietnam War, Americans came up with this phrase that is common today: food is a weapon. You may have heard that phrase before. Food is a weapon. Weapon of what? That's the question a lot of us don't ask. It's a weapon of control and domination. And food is a weapon. Shortly after that, Nigeria had a civil war. You know what Awolowo did to crush the Biafran soldier? It is food he used. So we need to take responsibility for educating ourselves about food. A lot of things are happening in that space called food and agric. I tell you, friends, a lot. So we need to educate ourselves. Educate your children about food, quality food, whole food. We need to take education. If you go to the supermarket and you see all these stuffs on the shelf, do you know how to read food labels? Do you know what is okay and what is not okay? All of this has to do with responsibility. And there's something I've done in taking responsibility. I want to challenge us. Join the conversation. I've created a WhatsApp group. If you log in through this link here, it's going to take you. I'm just going to ask you to, join the conversation. It's a choice anyway. So you can just write down that stuff and join that conversation. Like I said, there's so much to say. There's so much to learn and unlearn. And I want to begin to show some of these things, either through the WhatsApp group or through meetings like this. But I'm going to be posting a lot on the WhatsApp group that has to do with educating people about food security, food system, food web, and all of those things that has to do with our food. And the reason is because I've been exposed somehow to what goes on behind the scene when it comes to food and food system in the world. There's so much conspiracy against our health. I tell you, friends, these big corporations are against our health. Farmers can't break through with industrial farming. Forget about it. The goal is not about, growing food for everyone. The goal is about dominating and controlling everyone. So please, you can join the conversation to be able to learn more about, this journey. Then advocacy. You can take action. If you're not growing food, take action. Whatever you find out about food, please advocate for quality whole food. Begin from your home. Tell your children. Teach them. Advocate about good food to them. If you have colleagues at work, tell them about where food comes from, how food is grown, and all of this thing. Whatever you find out, please talk about it. Let's begin to shout about these things because it is very important. A lot of people don't know what is going on. Then also support the local farmer. If you cannot grow food, maybe you don't have the space. There are some people around you who grow. Support them. It's not common in this part of the world, but there's, in development, we have what is called CSA, Community Supported Agriculture, whereby you find a local farmer, you give them money upfront and say, grow vegetables for me, grow this, grow cucumber, I need so and so kilo, I need so and so kilogram of lettuce, so and so kilogram of tomatoes, and you give them money upfront, and they will grow the food for you. We can begin to do that around here. Support a local farmer. Find somebody around you who is a farmer. Support them. Some of them may need seeds, some of them may need, financial resources, but let it translate back to food for you and monitor what they do. That's how to support the local farmer. Tell them about some of this that you're learning. It is important they know what they put into what they are growing. Support them. Then thirdly or fourthly, grow your own food. Take action, grow your own food. You don't need a large acreage of land, friends. Grow your own food. You can start small. What do you need? You don't need to do all that, I am Joe, all that you're seeing on TV or you're seeing on YouTube and all of that. No, I saw a video that went viral recently about a woman who grew, yam in bags. I think she has over 100 bags of yam and all that. You may not grow 100, bags of yam. You can start with 2. You can even start with 1. Try it. You may not grow as many, bags of tomato as I grow. You can start with 1 or 2. But just start something. If you have the means, beside your house, beside the corner of your balcony, anywhere you can grow food with some of these innovations that I've shown us, this evening. So I'm rounding up now. If you have questions, please let me throw the chat open and go to the chat room now and see. If you have questions, you can actually drop them here.